Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Onord.
This is Rangru. Low, low, low.
And folks, we're going back in time. Yes, we're back to SD2, back on that western front here. With who, Rang, as we fight on Orsha East? Who do we have?
Well, on the left-hand side in the blue, we have Shkodder playing the 5th Mountain Infantry. We have a Maverick income, right-hand side in red. We have Onord playing 2nd American Infantry, also with Maverick income.
No, looking over here, 5th Mountain kind of opening up with that recon plane. What kind of... We've been seeing that kind of very, very strange, either we see a super quick Dushka or like a 20 mil, or, basically your national equivalent overall. But the recon plane over here, not seeing anybody really to kind of fuss about. So 5th Mountain get a really, really good level of, just say, imagery as it goes up and down the lines. Now, no, this would be the spot where I say something to you like, what the heck's going to go on here between the 5th Mountain and the 2nd Indian Head? But we've seen this kind of matchup before. It's just foot on foot on foot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just quality infantry on quality infantry, and Rails is sorcery, so it'd probably be a grind either up north or in the middle, and grind it shall be, as we're seeing up north. Yeah, the Rangers mentioned to get into a good position, catching the mountain infantry before they can get their feet planted in the forest.
Yeah, it's interesting, but at the same time, actually, look at the central position where you expect to see even more grind. It actually looks like both sides are actually looking to be, maybe not passive, but yes, there's a scout car, yes, there's an M8, but it's triple machine gun versus double machine gun, and the Gebirgsjaeger just kind of sitting off on the one side, just kind of laughing.
Seems like AB-41's really confused. He's just in the middle of a firefight. It's like, oh, god damn it, who am I shooting at?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like a Boondock Saints moment right there. It was like, what about one guy with 6 guns? And that's like, there we go. But the M1919s, despite outnumbering their German counterparts, do get pushed back. That is the deliciousness of the MG42, of course. But like we said, northern side, the Mountaineers, they're on the mountain, but down off the the hill, things not going so well.
I do like how he is flanking with the really large sniper squad, yeah. As he said, I'd say you can like snipe stuff coming down the road, but even just using that hill position to push regular infantry up north would prove to be a pretty good way to get his foot back into the forest, yeah. At the same time, Onord right now doesn't really have a whole lot in that forest, so there is an opportunity for Shkodder to come in through and, heavily commit to retaking north.
Yeah, that's definitely true, but a 57 mil being brought up here, especially since the 5th is not exactly known for its technological development here. Although, we are going to see a 75 mil and IG-18 trying to go and maybe help out those Gebirgsjaegers Führer, so let's see how this goes.
Yeah, and the center of the map is, very even Stevens, neither side managing to, make the classic rush to the opposing hilltop and completely capture it. Because as we see time and time again, if you manage to capture the central hill, you pretty much win the match.
Yeah, that does seem to often be the case now, doesn't it? Now, unfortunately, this recon plane is probably going to go down as this P-38 is flying after. Maybe not. One would have thought that a rinky-dink biplane would have bought the farm, but the farm remains unpurchased right now.
Yeah, P-38 is honestly a little bit too fast. Being slow has its benefits.
That's the case, but maybe the 20 mil I would have thought was just absolutely shredded that recon plane. Kind of happy that's not the case. It's more of I don't know, the bit of nostalgia in me. That the Great War can still live on for a couple seconds longer in the modern day. I don't know.
I'll send you a Fokker D7 for Christmas, Con, don't worry.
Honestly, I think back to going to the Berlin airport, actually, I'm pretty sure there actually is a Fokker plane being hung up in the middle of that, or at least a good model of it. Despite that, the Strafniki over here, or Streifniki, geez, let me try this again a third time. Strife troops. I see Strife, that's my first thoughts. I always throw a Niki on the end of it. Facing off against early rifles down here, and they lost, which is really quite surprising.
Yeah, just the rifles getting into a good position, of course. When you have a whole heap of M1 Garens, and yeah, STGs are good as well, but numbers and beefy squads, as we see, always work out well. And really, any game, it's, warfare is really just numbers game. In the end of the day, it's quite boring.
That's what they keep saying to me whenever I play the Skaven, but somehow it doesn't really seem to always go well for me, no.
You need more you need more, what's it called? Clan Rats?
Oh, that's true. Or Skaven slaves, I imagine, too, either way.
Now, Skaven slaves.
we are seeing some tube artillery, so it's a 107 mortar. We don't get to see this guy very often. He's dropping rounds over here in the central position. Usually we're seeing the 81 mils. Is there any particular reason in your mind you would take the 107 over just your standard 81 mil?
Probably for a bit of extra range, gives you a bit more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's much better at routing infantry out of buildings, because, well, you do much more kaboom damage. And also dealing with static weaponry, because more kaboom. More mortar.
That does certainly seem to be the case. And actually, when you think about the price difference, too, that's really not all that much more.
No, it's mainly just availability, where you get hurt, and of course the, what's it called? The fire rate.
True. Now, 75 mil down in the central position on the German side is going to go and engage at half track. Again, just... Yes, technically he can kill him, but just the accuracy is just dog poo. So, not too much to be worried about there. But up north, we are seeing Gebirgsjaegers really pushing through that forest, and those Rangers, well, they're deciding that it's time to kind of maybe not get their badge today. They're going to back off immediately. So yeah, just watching as the Gebirgsjaegers really kind of push those Ranger flame troops back. I mean, rifle, half-track, enough to stop this push? Probably not, right?
No, it's especially close quarters. All it takes is one good magnetic grenade, and that half-track will be, well, fully gone. But there's still a lot of Rangers and rifles in here. I mean, do see that Stug being brought out as well. It just seems like it's going to get very grindy. But Onord is bringing heavier firepower, I would have to say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're bringing in a Sherman in the trees with a Stug, I mean, yeah. The Stug over here technically could almost tend to irritate it, but for the most part, just it's not going to matter very much.
Yeah, Sherman usually reigns supreme in close quarters, because, you know why I think the Sherman's good in close quarters, Khan?
Stabilizers?
How did you know?
You think you know a guy after 5 years, and eventually, yeah. So, but actually, we also get that Ranger T-30, howitzer on the back, the M1 howitzer mount on the back of a half-track. So the closest we get to Orky technology in this, of course. Unfortunately for the Gebirgsjaegers, yeah, they have the magnetic mine, but it's kind of hard to throw it that far.
Yeah, it's just getting across that light forest to actually get... Yeah, you really need a bit of smoke to actually allow that infantry to push up. But we are almost 8 minutes into this match, and it's still very even point rise. Neither side has really been able to, utilize any of the map to make a massive breakthrough.
That does certainly seem to be the case, though I wonder if we're going to start to see that over here in the north in just a moment. Because the Gebirgsjaegers are going to get pushed back, because the rifle's going to be able to unmask all of those defensive positions. So just one by one, we actually are going to see... Bombing? No, recon in the middle. This recon plan's going to be absolutely owned. Yeah,
we got...
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's Bofors, but he does not have line of sight or range now. P-38 comes in... Gets the snipe. Here we go.
I wonder if the P-38 actually might take some damage here with those. Maybe not. But maybe the 20 mils just have just enough killy bits? No. He's going to get away. Unless
he is speedy.
Here. Nope. Okay. But back to the northern side over here. Yep. We are going to see the one half-track is dead, but the Gebirgsjaegers are beating a hasty retreat in the opposite direction, drawing in a couple of BF-109s who are going to come in and just start absolutely lacing that forest with high explosive bombs.
That's going to be a very clutch bombing run, yeah, and especially with these strife troops being brought on in. Now is a really perfect opportunity for Shkodder to do a counterattack. Of course, there's still a decent amount of armor in that forest, and okay, he does have... Oh, these strife troops do have Panzerfaust, so he does have the ability to blow up those tanks.
Yeah, and that's kind of the biggest thing here, isn't it? Is that the Gebirgsjaegers are really, really quite good troops, except that their anti-tank is just not... No.
Yeah, anti-tank grenades are so, 1942.
I think you have that the wrong way around. Maybe more like 1924. I don't really think I really want to be going up against anything that moves faster than me with an anti-tank grenade.
Yeah.
But take a look at the other side of the maps here, just in case, just to see if we're missing anything. Most guys are kind of chilling. We have ourselves that IG-18 in the South Central. He was going to engage something. He thought better of it, apparently. A bit of a Christmas truce going on down here.
Yeah, especially all the way down south, like you said. It's quite funny. You never really see anyone go really hard and push in the southern side of this map the majority of the time. It's a pretty rich zone in terms of flags you can take, but, you know, it's always a standard. You push center, you push north, and then maybe south if you get bored.
Well, P-38J coming on in. That's the bombing one that just dropped 900 kg of high explosive on the northern position. And the Germans, as you expect, are beating a bit of a retreat there.
Yeah, both sides are just getting a force back from opposing bombing runs.
Yeah, but I think that kind of not maybe interesting is the wrong term. We are triple 3675 mils being brought on in. We have the Poopchin to the north with that Kettenkrad, which is absolutely, I think, low key. I think one of my favorite vehicles from like the war overall, because it's so derpy looking.
Mm-hmm.
But the Poopchin, this actually might be the best place to use the Poopchin, which is just so good from a short distance and just so terrible for anything longer than about 400 meters.
Yeah, it's a very niche weapons platform, but in as far as like you said, especially as we saw the problem before, is that little range with the light forest zone.
Mm-hmm.
That Poopchin should be able to cross that distance and start blapping these tanks.
He's got to do it soon, because another P-38 just kind of came on in and just obliterated the positions here. And now, actually, geez, a 75 mil in the middle of the map is getting pounded. So I'm wanting to see the battery of, oh my gosh, I'm going to attempt to say this, but let's say the 3675 mils.
Yeah.
Oh,
the mounting guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are like really damn cost effective for 45 points. They got smoke, they got HE. They even got the radar trait, which is pretty useless on an artillery piece. But still, 45 points for a howitzer when you used to get mortars for that price, not bad at all.
Well, and actually, I also love this off-map call-in. So this 170, you know how I feel about off-map call-ins, but there's already infantry here. There's Stugs here. And now all the artillery is going to be aiming and unmasking itself by aiming for, I would argue, the 75 mils in the back. Or at least thinking about that more than anything else. So he's not going to pay attention to any kind of artillery falling down in the center part of the map. So it's going to be really kind of an interesting kind of play.
Yeah, I think that would be quite devastating if he can follow on through with his infantry, which was still loaded in transports. He should be able to make a pretty big dent in the center, even if he doesn't fully capture center. If it's push or one or two pushes, it should divert some attention up north to... I would say give him a chance, but it does seem like in his case Shkodder's just kind of lost the northern side, and that can be pretty hard to take back.
Well, he's bringing a Spavieras as well, which is kind of a heaviest bomber I would really argue he's going to be bringing on in. Although, for that matter, I guess I can understand... Ooh, this is pretty.
The counter off map artillery.
I absolutely get why, because now, okay, yeah, great, I just took this territory. You're not expecting, the American equivalent of the Spanish Inquisition here. So especially when it's 203. Of course, the Americans have to be bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this would probably kill his little attack here, as Shkodder's troops are pretty much slap bang in the center of our off-map artillery barrage. Even the Stugs are going to get a little bit of the action here, and the Sherman's still alive and some infantry being brought on up. He should be able to get back to his original position.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. It feels very World War I for half a second here.
Mm-hmm. We're creating our no man's land in real time, Khan.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunately, this isn't the French countryside. But, ooh, geez. Okay, so the 105 howitzer goes down. The Sherman goes down. It might get unlucky here because that 203 might get some accidental kind of, let's say, not friendly fire, because that's absolutely the wrong term. Sherman goes down the north. Geez, M1 goes down the north. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Onord has just lost an absolute ton of material here.
Yeah, in such a short period of time. I mean, if you're just looking on the front line here, Onord is only really holding now a bunch of infantry and a few vehicles. So there's a real opportunity for Shkodder to, make that lightning post. We're still in B phase. We've got that Maverick income. You really need to try and get that territory.
Well, you can see it right now, too. So the battery field moving on, and these are 4 squads of Gebirgsjaegers. So the artillery's going to come in. The question is, will it drop far enough to hit that 203? Because even if he gets one 203 barrage out of consideration, that's still a bit of a win.
Yeah,
He's
and
slaughtering his infantry.
we're also seeing the counter battery now from Onord to stop his initial push, but he's pretty much broken through at this point. There's this one T-30 to hold him back, and I can't really do too much against infantry. It doesn't have a machine gun.
No, it does not. I mean, 75 HE isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but Gebirgsjaeger, even with the mine side, that should still be enough to kill.
You know, you just dodge a 75mm shell. It's like XCOM, it probably is like 50% chance to hit, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's a 50% chance, you 50% chance to actually shoot it in the first place. Yeah. And then there's that weird kind of roll where they start kind of mind controlling and they start spitting acid. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But the final
goddamn chrysalid.
Actually, this is the final barrage of the 2 or 3, isn't it? Because he just dropped 2 of those really quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know if they have 2 or 3 charges, but both sides have been going through it off map quite heavily through its, rather important Maverick phase, and we're seeing, hey, I've just lost the hill, I gotta send in the Rangers, armed with what? Light machine guns. And that should be enough, I think, to, take his hill back. And it's good that he's doing it this fast, because you do not want to let your opponent set up defenses on that hill if you lose it.
If and only if the 75s don't start firing, because this is a target-rich environment. The 75s could be absolutely devastating here.
That's a very good point. Those Rangers do not have anti-tank. It is a Rhino on the hill, and the T-30 is still here. And, okay, yeah, most of the German, Italian 75s are now gone kaput.
Unfortunately, they're aiming for the 107, which is now dead. So if they're dropping that about 500 meters, that would have been beautiful. And P-38 would just see soaring past my screen and getting obliterated. But yeah, they're firing at the absolute wrong spot. This is a really, really big, very, very big misplay on in this barrage.
Yeah, because these infantry going to make their way through. We got a bunch of more Gebirgsjaegers being brought on into the hillside, and most of the off-map now being pretty much, spent. It should probably just be a good old infantry grind fest with that Rhino to ruin the fun.
Yeah, because the Gebirgsjaegers are going to get, one by one, they're just getting absolutely owned. Yeah, drop that fire. You're literally blowing so much munitions over here just on absolutely nothing. This is so hard to watch.
Maybe I just don't like Russian architecture in the countryside.
But the funny thing, Orsha isn't in Russia.
Oh, Belarusia.
Yeah. As I say, the Belarusians and the Lithuanians out there probably have a bit of a bone to pick with you here, but hopefully won't get too much of that. P-38 down to the south is going to make a gun run at Gebirgsjaegers. There's still enough 20 mils out here that, for the most part, this really isn't anything down to the south. It's just some dithering back and forth.
Yeah, it's just a little bit like skirmish. And actually, it could open up to be a pretty good frontier for Shkodder down south if he manages to keep that forward spot where the Gebirgsjaegers are. I mean, it is bringing in the Stug, the Italian Stug it is. He has to break his way through a 105 and a bunch of Stuarts.
Which I don't think he's going to be able to do. I mean,
I would agree.
1 Stuart, yeah, probably sure. 2, 3, 4. I mean, we've all seen Battle of the Bulge. We know if we load Hyper Shot and make him run out of fuel, then everything's going to be fine for them, so. No, I'm sorry. We're not playing war now. Fuel's not a consideration here anymore.
Oh, another Spadero heavy bombing run. I think he's just going to be going for the 57mm here. So it does seem like Shkodder is trying to, diversify his portfolio a bit, considering the central Blitzkrieg didn't go as planned, and these last few minutes of Maverick income, he's trying to get a foothold down south now.
Yes, he is. And by the way, 1 Stuart, 1 Stug. 2 Stuarts, well, the Stug loses. So, I mean... Spavier, by the way, also just obliterates a part of those workhouses down south. Didn't do anything. Didn't hit the 57. Didn't even aim at the same zip code as 57. So I'm not entirely sure what was the deal on that one. And looking back at the center, the Rangers are taking back the surface of the moon. Unfortunately, they're also getting pushed out in the open where there's no more real cover, so they're getting absolutely obliterated for all of that hard work.
Yeah, unless there's going to be another large off-map artillery strikes, which I do believe Shkodder has available. If it just becomes a grind for the center, like you said, they've just made this into the crater of the moon. There's no cover. you can't do infantry pushes here. It's just way too deadly. Both sides are very well set up with machine guns and tanks. It's just, you're going to need smoke, and you're going to need fire. And off-map fire, it is, good God.
Well, the funny thing is, both of that, the 170 goes down, the 203 goes down, so the Stokes might actually die from this, because a 203 dropping on top of your tank, your assault gun, whatever you want to call it, still going to cause a bit of a hassle here. What I would have preferred to see, though, is actually the xylophones. Because the second has two of them in his deck, and he's got more than enough supplies to keep those things going for the rest of the game.
Yeah, they are pretty cheap, and especially if you can buy them early on, they can pay themselves off, because you get them out of shots in, the reload, all of that good stuff.
And now the 203 is going to start dropping as the 170s are already going. So the 170 off might actually die here, but that's okay. He's done his duty to the fatherland and has used his last charge, I believe. And the Stugs, while they're getting engaged, aren't dead. So that's a bit of kick in the teeth, or at least it will be once that Rhino starts to move on forwards. Okay, I got the AB-41. The question is what's going to happen otherwise. Transmission damage, that's also kind of a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, we're seeing some more American armor being brought on through, some more Stuarts, a T-30. Not a whole lot of infantry left. Those Rangers have led the way and, well, bit the dust, so to speak, in regard to taking the moon. But the question will be whether he can really make any significant progress, because he does have the armor, but there's still a lot of Germans entrenched on the other side.
Well, this is a Pack 40 is being brought in as well. So as soon as that Pack 40 kind of gets moved up to the edge of the forest, like that is going to control the absolute northern part of that. There's another Sherman going down. And
another off map.
Yeah, the other 170 being brought on in. So the 203 is not getting charged down forwards, as you might suspect, to unmask some fire positions. And it's Stuarts now. It's Stuarts and a limping Rhino. So I don't know, man. I feel like Onord's starting to really kind of lose it here in the center.
Yeah, I mean, we're now into C phase. It's a 15-9, and it's really because Shkodder has managed to catch Onord off guard by pushing down south. Of course, Onord has done a fantastic job securing up north, but once you capture the northern side, you can't really push any further. It's a bit of a dead end. Or down south here, Shkodder, he pretty much got like a decent extent of what you can reasonably get, especially now we're getting to C phase here. But he just needs to hold it. I mean, he's got a 15-9, 16-8. He can set up good defenses and probably take us in the bag.
Well, so I'm trying to think of like unsung heroes here. I mean, the LG-42, we see this guy every now and again, and I have a soft spot in my heart the same way that I have a soft spot in my heart for the Pupchin. But these 75 mils, we don't see them very often, but they've been very effective actually here today.
Yeah, he is off. These mountain guns have been pretty effective at just, well, barraging this mountain over the hill, so to speak. Just dealing with the 107s, and especially in 2nd Infantry, it's a lot of, scrishy infantry targets you have to worry about. Bit of artillery never hurts, unless you're a dude.
That's very, very true. You can see right now... Wait, bombs coming down after the engineer? Okay. The F-109's not been quite as accurate as they need to be for the 5th, but thankfully a lot of this off-map has been successful enough, doesn't it need to be? Last bit of hope over here in the south does get kind of extinguished. Stoke is engaged by a Hellcat, and Hellcat, unfortunately, despite the fact that it's got claws, well, Kitten's got claws, but Kitten doesn't have armor. And for that reason, Kitten dies.
Kitten goes kaput.
Yes, there's much kaputage today, including that Kitten. In the center, the last Rangers, I think, are starting to fall here. I mean... They are. I think he saw a thing of rifles to be called in, but 16-8... I don't know. I'm not feeling Onord's position right now. Yeah, both sides do have C-phase infantry, which is always a very, safe bet to take in a 1v1, because most of the time it will go past that 20, usually 30-minute mark here. But just looking at the force disposition up north, well, I'm not great with numbers, Khan, but it seems to be as more blue stuff on the left and red stuff on the right. Don't quote me on that. Okay, I won't quote you on that. I was gonna say, even if I, translate that from Canadian into American, yeah, that would still be a bit of a on the wrong side of that balance sheet there.
Especially going from like Metro to Imperial gets really weird.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking to the wrong guy on that one, because not for nothing. I feel like metric makes more sense to me, but maybe because I'm married, because Mrs. Khan is a scientist. So, but no. So 75s are firing off their last rounds over here. I don't know if we're going to get any kind of supply truck. Yes, we do. Cuban munitions being moved on in, and we are seeing an attempt to kill that 203 and that Ranger LMG. I think he just imagines that there's something crazy back in there, despite not knowing that there's a steward that's holding the entire center of this position.
Yeah, that's true. He's pretty much like the moon rover going on the exploration mission into unknown space, and good God, just zooming in on that center part of the map, it just looks like hell.
Well, it's kind of funny to me always, whenever you zoom in on the thing and the textures haven't updated until you zoom in and all the buildings just collapse together. It's like, yep,
yes,
yep, that's about right.
It's like, guys, they're looking, collapse quickly.
We were supposed to fall down minutes ago.
Shit, I took a nap.
Recon plane does go down, which is not surprising, unfortunately. But the 203 gets hit with one of the last shells in that barrage. Funny thing is, we're seeing one late rifle squad coming on in, but he is, as the name implies, rather late.
Yeah.
So, tough stuff there. Tough stuff.
And we're seeing a few of the Gebirgsjaegers being brought into the center now. Really not much here from Onord, and Shkodder, still having the momentum to push into the center. He should be able to completely clear us out now. The only real dangerous things are the few half tracks left.
And the constant P-38 runs, here we go.
Yeah, too.
This is going to destroy the front half of this. Yep.
A stunning hit, you could say.
Yeah, you might say it's super effective.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cuban munitions, which had been full a second ago, has absolutely nothing else to offer to this particular situation. Now, we are going to see a light rifles and a Gebirgsjaeger go toe-to-toe, Dieze Mano y Dieze Mano. Excuse me, dozen Mano. But regardless, both of them, yellow cover, so not quite out in the open, but the Gebirgsjaeger has brought an entire other mountain range with him.
Yeah.
That's,
whole lot of Alpini troops to push on through here, and at 15-9, I don't really feel like Onord just has momentum anywhere to make an effective push. Like, even down south, he can defend the territory he currently has, but it's going to be very hard for him to make offensive maneuvers anywhere.
And that's the funny thing, isn't it? Like, you see a late rifle being brought on in, and suddenly, he walks on forwards, gets into a house, and then two guys get sniped out by Fusiliers. Like, that's kind of the consistent message of this late part of this game.
Yeah. I think, considering this is getting into the late part of this match, want to take us to a '2 at 28:30?
Sounds good. So, I mean, folks, as we kind of continue to kind of wind this down over here as we go to '2, Onord didn't misplay this. It was just that some of the artillery strikes, I think, over here from, let's say, the Gebirgsjaeger's 5th, like the 170s, having that first on-map artillery and then having the first effective off-map artillery really push things in the center in his direction.
Yeah, pretty much Onord managed to trade rail up north and get that all-important northern point, and because once you capture it, hard to lose. And it became an absolute bloody, meat grinder in the center, back and forth, off-map infantry pushes here and there, where it was pretty much stagnated. But once Shkodder, went for a little reach around down south and managed to sneak, a few surprising territorial gains, he just managed to, really tick on the scoreboard and start trading effectively, as Nord had to relocate his forces to deal with, losing south so quickly.
And that's the things that, at this point, because economics is a thing in this match, Onord just isn't able to amass anything on the back end. Like, everything now is, okay, I have a couple more infantry I want to send them on in. I have a couple more infantry I want to send them on in, which is just not enough. And there's no artillery. I mean, that's the great failing of 2nd Infantry. awesome infantry early, but after those Rangers, it's kind of like, well, not really sure what you got to do with it.
Yeah, the rifles are good because they're beefy, but you do need to fire support, and of course the lack of infantry anti-tank, as we've mentioned like countless times back to ST-44 of this division, can be a real hindrance when they're going up against a lot of Stugs and armored cars.
Yeah, I maintain one thing that could have been a little bit different, though, too, is the inclusion of either the long tom or the xylophone. Like, I like the fact that we saw the mortar. You can see right here in the meantime, of course, kills and losses are relatively the same. But xylophones, a lot of suppression. That would have been a very good way to kind of take the off map and put it on map and be even more consistent and more let's say, efficient with your resources.
Yeah, xylophone can be extremely useful. I understand why people go for buying off map because it's immediate, because it's really big booms, in a short period of time, especially when you're playing Maverick, where you just kind of want explosions now and not thinking too much late game.
Mm-hmm.
But over a longer period of time, the xylophone definitely pays itself off because you can just get much more strikes, even accounting for having to buy supply trucks and stuff.
Exactly. I will say, looking at kills and losses over here, there's one Stog over here for the 5th, Valdix, who's got 2 Hellcats, a Stuart, and a Sherman, a 105 Sherman at that. But other than that, for the most part, even that off-map artillery, a lot more fire and fury, but maybe not the greatest amount of killing.
No, it's very much just a slugfest of infantry and artillery.
Which is what we kind of come to expect from the 5th and the 2nd. But regardless, we see how it kind of played out today. Any final thoughts, sir?
No.
Folks, in that case, then, until next time, I'm Onord.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.